right? So I like to think I can actually answer this with some degree of passion, right? I was MSE, so the Manufacturing System Engineering program. I did it in person. It's now then the program was dual. You could do it either way. You could do it in person, you could do it virtually, and now it's only virtual. But I'm program director for a program as and I can speak with some authority that it's phenomenal. I've been following MEM forever. The power folks are you're kind of cool. But it's designed for working people. That's really the key takeaway on this slide, right? Internationally recognized industry experts, kind of a mix of high degree of faculty, kind of like Wisconsin faculty, and also people that just have a love for Wisconsin that teach for us as subject matter experts. And the format we'll go through when we go through the program is kind of an overview of the program. We kind of introduce you to an example faculty and then like an example project. And it kind of gives you a sense of what's going on. And I think you'll like that. We can Matt DeHart, you can kind of he's a mem, right? So also then in Sarah, I'm gonna lie to you and tell you that I actually put this slide in because I knew you were coming. But uh, Matt, when he left the Navy, he wanted to start a new career, and he found that the mem was really helpful. And I'm gonna kick the door shut. The dog is going crazy. Sorry about that. Format of all the classes we have, it's synchronous. So what we do, again, we use a learning module. Your materials are available once a week for an hour, somewhere an hour and 15. You will gather together. And so in this cycle, what we show is a Monday connection point, and then Tuesday to Thursday is kind of looking at the materials and the recordings and things, and then working with fellow students. And probably another high point of the program is the quality of your other students. I always encourage folks get to know the other people because I'm old. They're young and they're going to be around a while and they're really going to really help your. It's great to have in the network. And then that up thing on Sunday just says, hey, any homework dues on Sunday, and then we repeat the cycle. Um, my rule of thumb, because I teach in my own program, is anything, and this is my philosophy, some might be a little different, but I think it's pretty typical. If I'm going to talk at you, I'm going to make a recording of about 10 minutes. Now, I may do 5 recordings in 10 minutes, but I try to keep it within the, kind of attention span of the modern age. And then I would then anything we do on the gathering on, in my case, Monday night, could be Tuesday night, could one of the other nights. But what we'll do is we either I've got a guest speaker or we're dialoguing on something. So it's interactive. I try to treat as precious that 1 hour of time to not make it it seems silly to do a presentation to somebody if I could just record it. Oh, hold on a second, sir. Mohammed had a question. Okay, so Mohammed's question is, could you explain to me how I can get credit that I gained from outside the US? Within the program, when you apply, you're going to submit initially you'll submit, I forget what the word we use for it. It's an ad hoc or an unofficial transcript. Once you're accepted, you turn in your official transcript. Your program director, like for example, the manufacturing, it would be me, but your power engineering program manager, program director, plus the academic director would go through your transcript and we can waive up to 6 credits. 6 credits. So a 30 credit program becomes 24. But again, that would just be kind of a manual review. We look through what we're looking for is the equivalent of 400 level class or higher with a B or higher that lands in the curriculum. So like Sarah, if you took a 400 level, ideally better, but maybe a 500 level leadership class someplace, and you got a B or higher, your program director could waive that class for you, so it could drop your cycle down. Mohammed, how do I do for you? Is that good? So here's your programs. I'm going to put on a little laser pointer thing here so we can, right? And there's science, masters of science, master of engineering. It's like, the phrase six of one, half a dozen of the other just means which is better? They're both good. Why are there two? It makes sense if you get under the hood a little bit, but at this point doesn't really isn't that germane. So we have the engineering management one and the power one. Those are the two we'll spend some time on. The other three is the manufacturing systems program, which I do. We have an engineering data analytics program, a polymer engineering program, and a sustainability systems engineering program. Now, on top of that, we have, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of that, we have what's called a capstone certificate. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Darren. And what the certificates are, and I'll go in a little bit more detail, but sometimes maybe somebody's GPA is a little low, or they're not, I'm not sure I want to go to graduate school yet. The certificates let you take a concentration of 3 classes in a specific area, earn a certificate, and then once you got kind of the certificate thing going, you might say, well, I really kind of like this. Could I bundle that certificate into a degree? And the answer is yes. So 3 credit classes gets you a certificate in polymer processing, manufacturing. There's a power conversion. So Mohammed or Sarah, in your case, you might say, hey, I want to do MEM, but I'd also like maybe earn a certificate in power conversion. That's possible, right? Applied engineering.
There's a certificate that is for engineering management as well, right? I think I saw on the list.
Yeah, it's right here. Applied, so you can do the reverse.
Yeah.
Right. So the one thing I like about what we do is, oh, keep going, Sarah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that I'm not seeing your slide because I'm not on Zoom.
Of course. Yeah, sorry. So what I'm showing what I'm showing is a slide that's got it's got the six master's degrees, and then it shows 4 certificates, 1 in polymers, 1 in power, 1 in applied engineering management, 1 in AI. Now you still have to take the 7 core. So like say, for example, you didn't have any classes waived and you have to take all 10. What you can do is you can take the 3 electives you have in a concentration, then take the other 7 classes in the core, and you can get the degree and a certificate. So like Sarah, like in your case, you could either do a power certificate, or Mohammed, a power certificate in an engineering management master's, or you could do a power master's with a engineering management certificate. We don't have minors. That's kind of the way this works, right? For Mohammed's benefit, he's seen the slide, Siri, not all it shows is it's stackable. It just says, hey, 9 graduate credits in the certificate, bundled with 21 credits on the master side, stacked together. And again, it's a really flexible option if somebody's not sure yet, right? It's like, I went back to graduate school the first time in like 95, and then I did it again in like 2015. Oh my gosh. And I just needed to be able to start something, right? Because I wasn't sure it was for me. And so that's what this slide is. The next one is, again, just talks about the 4 certificates: AI, engineering management, polymers, and power. Are either of you two interested in the certificate as a starter? Because if you are, I'll go into this more detail. If you're not,
yeah, actually, I am.
Okay, so yeah. the couple of the key things. So I'm showing an at a glance slide with some some bullets. The key thing is, again, same format. It's the same classes. It's just that they're tailored to, 3 classes, 3 credits, 2 to 4 semesters, $1,100 a semester per semester for tuition. We give I'll call it a rebate or a scholarship to Wisconsin residents get another $100 off. So it's $1,100 if you don't live in Wisconsin, which is really quite reasonable. The nice thing about the capstone is it's got a starter at a 2.75 GPA. If somebody had less than that, I'd still tell them to apply and talk to the academic director and talk to your program director, because we give life credit for things, right? It's like, I had a student, he graduated like 20 years ago with like a 2, he's trying for a 3.0 minimum. He's got a 2.85. And I'm like, but he's got 20 years of practical experience. we look holistically at an application. We don't, it's, the GPA is a guide to how well you're going to do academically, but after 20 years, it's not much of a guide. So we look at the total person. So that's all this says. Oh, and we have is this you, Sarah Smith McGill?
It is. I finally figured it out. That's
Oh,
me.
there you go.
So I'm
Okay.
going to switch over. Okay, thanks. I'll hang up.
There we go. I was just saying, what a remarkable coincidence to have two Sarahs. Okay. So that's all again. Key thing on the capstone, three and you're done. Three of three. So 9 credits, you're finished. 275 to start. It's also a nice gateway just to figure out, hey, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in school. Is this a good place for me to be? Right. Um, okay, so we're going to do the master's programs here. The big difference here is 30 credits versus 9. Same tuition, same everything. The GPA is higher for the total program. So 3.0 or higher. But again, if you're below the minimum, I'd still always, and again, I'm not asking, but if you were, you can always work with your academic advisor and you can work with your program director just to kind of say, hey, and we do, again, let logic rule you kind of thing. MAM is the only one that has a 2-year work requirement. And again, it makes sense because it's more leadership based, and most of us don't have enough, um, say, experience to really be credible in that kind of degree. The master's manufacturing power, you come straight in. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump into we're going to focus on engineering management, and we'll do power, and then we'll kind of cover whatever else you want to talk about. In the format, so here's the cover slide. And Sarah, are you seeing the slides just so just because you,
I sure am. Yep, I can see him now.
well, it's always bad when I get going and then I realize you can't see anything. Okay, so the format is, how's this program right for you? Then I'm going to show a slide about kind of the curricula structure. Then I give you an example faculty and an example project. That's the exact same format for all of the programs we talk about. It kind of makes it easier to translate between them. Some people, and I did the MSc, which is kind of a techie deep with a leadership kind of subset. MEM is kind of the reverse. It's more leadership deep, but it's still a technical degree. Some people want to do the MBA. Some people, I liked being technical. MEM lets you bridge the two. And it's got a really strong leadership side. It's got a strong data side, strong project management. And all of the courses we really work hard to have you apply what you do for a living into the course structure. And there's a lot here, but right here's your required courses, and then you select, so you can see foundations of leadership, ethics, economics. You can read through those, and then over here you complete another 11. You could, within those 11, pick 9 of them to be a certificate-based approach. So I'm going to show you an example. Faculty is Steve King. You kind of get a sense of what he teaches, Foundation of Engineering Leadership. He's published a bunch of books, right? But he's a retired senior VP from Hewitt. And again, if I was going to learn something on HR, my Hewitt guy would be a pretty good way to go. The slide you're going to see here is pretty standard. Well, it is standard format, except in this case. It says circuit board testing automation. That is not the example from the engineering management side. So, but again, you'll see challenge what the students did, impact. We'll use this as an example, but this is actually a power kind of thing. Converted a manual circuit board testing process in a semi-automated workflow, designed, implemented, and evaluated the project, reduced testing time. So again, it's the same type of thing. So the leadership one should really be something to the effect of leadership system, students, but again, it's going to be analyzed, designed, implemented, improved, and you made it better. We're not going to show you an example. It doesn't have that. Kind of makes sense that, again, bad example. And Darren, it probably was me. I was tweaking slides. I probably swapped the one out in the wrong place. Any questions on engineering management? Again, 30 credits. You could waive up to 6 credits. if you can't waive anything, think about a certificate. It's kind of an MBA, but much more technically deep.
And then,
Wow.
Sarah, I don't know if you noticed in the chat, I put a comment about the Wisconsin School of Business is actually allowing 6 credits from an engineering management degree to be applied toward an MBA. I know you were looking at both, so just to note that, put a link to that in the chat.
Well, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, see, I call Darren's doing the voice from the sky, which is and he's also really putting some really cool stuff in the chat window. So I will also
I'm
mention,
not seeing anything in the chat window is the only, let me see, test. That's probably, maybe you put it in before I dialed in.
Because you joined after.
I did, yeah, that's probably what happened.
Teams keeps the whole screen. Zoom only puts it, well, you only see it from one point you join.
Yeah, so, sounds like another vote for Teams, James.
I think so. But what he also did is he's repasting in here stuff for you.
Yeah, I see it.
The other thing in Zoom, the minute the window ends, you're going to lose the Zoom content. So in the upper corner of the chat's 3 dots, there's a save chat. So anything that, Darren's wisdom, we'll call it Darren's wisdom, gets preserved through the call.
Great, thanks.
We're going to go over to power engineering next. So let me do that. Deep in skills, and again, it's power engineering. So it's an electrical engineering degree, but it's got the colon. So it's power systems, right? Power systems, smart grids, controls. WEMPAC, and I always forget what WEMPAC stands for, but it's essentially it's a power consortium, Wisconsin Power Consortia. And again, Caterpillar, we've been in and out of that, but electric machines, power grid, power generation, gain applicable and technical knowledge in power electronics. Curricula, you see electric drives, automatic controls, solid state, kind of what you'd expect. Dynamics, 9 credits. And then you pick your 9 over here. And always remember, always ask about the certificates, because this is the typical, I want to stay in power. Since we already talked about the capstone certificates, we don't bring them back up again, but you can bundle those into this. Example is jury. Oh, there you go. Wisconsin Electric Machines and Power Electronics Consortium. That's WEMPAC. Teaches utility applications.
He has been there since I was there. I remember him when I was an undergrad, many moons ago.
Hopefully. Well, the person that was my program director in 1988 was still running around here as an emeritus professor.
Oh, wow.
And I was scared of him then, and I'm less scared now, but it was, yeah, you can kind of see this, right? So you kind of know jury, and well-respected, well-renowned.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the example. Power flow and systems balancing. Analyze the power flow using an IEEE 14 bus test networking. Built a simulation, evaluated balancing. Formal report, presentation of their recommended approach, right? Now, the one thing I'll also mention, because I forget to mention it, is, like, for example, I was teaching last semester and I had a student was working for Boeing, and he had to leave for Japan for like 3.5 weeks. And then I had another student what was he doing? He is an ice sailor. So they sail on ice. And he got into like the national finals in Sweden for ice sailing. And he's like, I'm going to be gone for like 2 classes. What do I do? And I said, okay, we record them, watch the recordings. That was for both of them. And the rule of thumb I have is essentially, just tell me, we'll work through it. We truly understand that you're working professionals. It's not like you're dealing with a bunch of 19-year-olds. And again, there's nothing wrong with 19-year-olds, but they just have a different perspective of life at 19 than you do maybe at 29 or 35. And things happen, right? You just kind of work through it. So that's why I bring that up, right? So it's typical example. If you're out of plant, you can see the inner caterpillar of me talking. But if you're traveling, you just communicate it proactively. I also had a student that he was installing an automation system. And so he would be like, I really thought I'd make it to class, except my vendor, we were doing like runoff and it went really, really badly. And I'm just coming home from like getting in at 5 a.m. and I taught at 6 p.m. And I'm like, just go to bed. We'll just watch the video, watch the recording of the class, and we'll make it up. So I just mentioned that. So again, we talked about the programs of interest. Any of these others you want to talk about before we maybe we'll go into the kind of the close up here? Mohammed, how am I doing for you?
And I'm good, James. I don't need anything else.
Okay. So here's your timings, right? So if you want to start in the spring, November 1st. You want to start in the summer, May 1st. You want to start again. Sometimes you need a nudge. I tell you that start the application. It's application requirements. You need a resume. Curriculum vitae sounds fancy. The resume, one page-ish, personal essay. Your interest in the program, how you're prepared for the program. Occasionally, like say you had a GPA issue, or you have something unique that's that's I just say hit it up in the letter. You don't have to stay to one, but 1 to 2 pages. But again, that why are you interested in this program? How does this kind of align with what you want to do and be? That's what I'm looking for when I read this. It's not that you wrote well. I just want to know. And I'll nudge you to a different program if I think that you're in say I'm doing a manufacturing one and you're really talking about all this leadership stuff you want to do. I'm going to kind of say, hey, I'd love to have you in my program. Maybe you should think about MEM. Or you talk about power, I'm going to say maybe you should, and you can apply to both or multiple. You need a transcript. We call it an unofficial transcript. You can usually download those when if you're not fine, when you're accepted and we submit to graduate school, they're going to ask you for the official transcripts. Those are pretty straightforward. And then 2 letters of reference for the master's program. I always encourage folks do 3 because you always find that the one that you thought would be really diligent doesn't actually get done on time. And so and this is a personal thing I do. Again, I was a corporate person 30 some years. I'll actually reach out to your reference person and just say, hey, you're standing between Muhammad being in like a great graduate program and you haven't written his letter yet. Could you write his letter, please? And because otherwise I would go back, ages ago, I'd go back to you and then ask you to go back to them. And it's like, I just go straight to them. And usually that nudge gets everybody going. Really straightforward. And then you submit online at and Muhammad, we pronounce Wisconsin as WISC. So you hear say like grad.wisc.edu/apply. You're going to connect with a graduate advisor and they'll evaluate your application. We turn them around pretty quick. I mean, once everything's in, I will turn around. And again, I'll say speak for me, but I'm fairly typical. I'll turn them around in a few days. There's really no incentive. It drives you crazy. And again, I'll nudge your your letters of reference. I always tell them that sometimes people actually put their name in for reference and didn't tell them, and then it sits someplace. And then it's normally $75 to apply. If you write student services at interpro.wisc.edu, and you say that, hey, I want to be, I'm power engineering, I'm thinking spring, we'll waive the application fee. We do have international students, right? So there's a $6 fee for international applications. We can't help that. For whatever reason, if you had a friend that's like, hey, I'm in China and I want to attend the program, we'll waive the 75, but the $6 international fee sticks, right? But we'll waive it for you. So student services at interprowisc.edu. Just tell them, hey, please waive the fee. I want to be in this program. And then if you want some other stuff, here's your Interpro Whiskey to you master's degrees, the certificates, And then, we love feedback. So if you could go to gowisc.edu, and then it's PDC hyphen webinars, give us some feedback. Okay, right at time. Anything, Mohammed, you can do it on the chat window. Sarah, you can just shout out. What would you like to know that I didn't cover?
I'm interested in veterans benefits and anything specific for veterans.
I do not personally know. I should,
Okay.
but I don't know.
And that's
I will
okay.
tell you, student services, reach out to student services and just say, hey, what services, do you provide for veterans?
Okay. Specifically, I'd be interested in whether or not that gets me in-state tuition or not.
That is again, I stay within my lane.
Oh no, I'm not asking you. I'm just passing along why I'm asking that question.
Little side note, I love Nuke Navy people. I've had
do you?
I've had a number of you work for me.
Over
the
nice.
years. Oh, you're crazy people.
Have you done a ship ride before?
I have not.
Would you like to?
Someday.
We're always looking to get educators out on our nuclear power warships, usually carriers. But I think there is a program. I'm not directly connected to it, so I can't make any promises. But I will.
Be interesting.
But yeah, I've been trying to make sure that folks from Wisconsin are included. I don't typically see UW on the list, so this is just reinvigorate my effort to make sure that we are reaching out to you guys.
Little side note: the guy who was supposed to be my best man in my wedding 35 years ago, had just come off the Enterprise.
Oh.
And he was on a missile frigate in the Caribbean chasing drug lords. So he was on the Elrod in the thing. And then I had a guy that the Abraham Lincoln at one time was a submarine.
Oh, sure.
SSBN 601 was one of. It looks just like right out of.
Look at you remembering the whole number.
I tell you, that was a tin can, and he was, they kind of basically those they used to cut them and extend them to put the reactors in. So he was. Talk about an old, good man. So I love you all.
There's a lot of value. I mean, we have a ROTC unit there. That's probably who I should go through to try and. But at any rate, the middle of the country often
student services people. They're going to be like your liaison.
Yeah, I will talk to them.
Tuition,
regardless of what ends up happening with the program. Another question is what's the schedule like? Are all the classes in the evening during the day? I know you said that you can work it out to rewatch. Okay.
Central time between usually 6 p.m. to about 8. Might go as late as 8:15 Central time because we do have people on the East Coast. We have people on the West Coast. So we stay in that core Monday to Thursday. Mohammed asked the question: is the tuition the same for citizens and U.S. international students? Yes, absolutely. There's no price differential. The only place it shows up is in the $6 application fee. But you're not charged differently. Any visa issues or hey, how does this fall under visas? I always point you to your. I never give visa advice because it changes so much. It's just I'm not. It's so impactful of your life that I typically tell you to find somebody that is more knowledgeable than I am, which could be our student services people. We have a student kind of international student services that we can point you to, or you usually have somebody yourself. But yeah, the other one, little side note, Sarah, I had somebody who was on the Teddy Roosevelt as a plank holder. And so my plank holding buddy on the Teddy Roosevelt compared to my poor buddy on the Enterprise, because again, same standard, whether it's a new ship or not. My friend on the Enterprise went all over the world and never left the reactors because it was challenging, right? Because it was an old beast.
Yeah, they called her. She has many names: Mobile Chernobyl, many names. But we are decommissioning her now. So.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So, are there any in-person requirements? No, there are no in-person requirements.
Okay.
We do encourage folks. For example, we have one coming up in 3 weeks where we have a thing. It used to be residency, but it's called Campus Connect. We encourage people to come out, and we get all the programs together for one day in August to just meet each other if they choose to. Right? Get them, we have a dinner at the end of the thing and a bunch of activity in between, just to give people an opportunity to to connect with each other.
Yeah. Great.
And Darren did remind me that, yeah, so, oh, look at this. Darren is like the magic
Thanks,
person.
Darren. You are.
Hey, I'm just sitting here hanging out.
He is just like we can't say sweetheart because he'll blush or something, but he is really sweet. Yeah, tuition, we actually dropped tuition, but be careful on power. Darren, I think power did not reduce tuition. I think the power,
That's correct. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't want to wheel through there for sense of motion sickness, but the power engineering is actually a higher. Darren, you remember what the tuition is for power?
Oh, is it 16?
Yeah, I am going to wheel back.
I'll find it here in a heartbeat.
Here we go.
Yeah, $1,600 per credit.
There you go. So watch out for that. Not watch out for that one, but be aware of that one, right? So power engineering is $1,600 a credit. The other programs, we reduce price to $1,100 for everybody. We give $100 per credit to Wisconsin residents as a tuition scholarship. And again,
Okay.
Sarah, to your point, if you can figure out if it's, we can figure out how to get you kind of the Wisconsin rate, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
Darren helped you there.
Can you go back to the certificates because I didn't see the slides. I wasn't logged in to see the slides at that point. If you don't mind.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get the video. Mohammed, you asked about FAFSA. FAFSA is just one of the things you just have to apply for. It's income based, so depending on your income and other government things, you can apply for FAFSA. I have no idea how it would work out for you as to rates. Why did power engineering not reduce the rate? It is such a high in demand program that they didn't feel like they needed to make that change.
Good for them.
Yeah, I mean,
good job, Gary.
And I will tell you that we're very personable, and we're very, we really do. I wheeled the exact wrong direction through this entire presentation because I wanted to get back to the end, and I managed to do that quite effectively. And went so far as that would go too far now. Oh my goodness! There we go. Let's do that. Close your eyes. I always hate the motion sickness thing.
I'm looking away.
There you go. Great program, but again, you'll find the program directors. We will go out of our way to answer your questions and just try to make you feel welcome. And then I actually we all shepherd people through the process. So once you've, kind of the person you meet at the intro session is the person you're going to meet at the, hey, I've got questions, and hey, how about this? Hey, about this? Once you've been accepted, we do kind of an academic plan with you to kind of make sure that you kind of lay out how it's going to work for you. Same person. And then ideally I get to see you at graduation. And I hope you all come in physically for it because it's really a cool experience. Any other questions? I mean, I know we're over a little bit, but I'm here as you have questions.
No, thank you very much. I'm good. I appreciate the time and the actually talking to a human. That was very helpful.
Yeah. Look up SSBN 601 because it was literally a tin can, just a little tin can. And those guys used to run around with like the stethoscopes, and he was my maintenance director when I hired him. I hired him from another company, and we'd laugh over his life in the Navy. But yeah, you have any other questions? Again, JRink, right? JRink at wisc.edu. You're welcome to write me. Student services, you're going to get one of 3 people. We try to, that way we don't drop the ball on this. But if you're either going to Libby or Corrine or somebody, there's a third person in there. Whatever you need, just reach out.